Technoblade Never Dies. We all know that Technoblade beat Dream in the $100,000 duel, but do we know why Technoblade beat Dream? And that gave me an idea. Why don't we look at why Technoblade beat Dream in the $100,000 duel? Let's get into it. Welcome back, friends, and a special welcome to all the new friends out there. I'm YoBGS, and in my quest to get better at the game of Minecraft, I've been learning a lot about PvP, and it turns out there's not really anybody better to study from than the one and only Technoblade. I liked watching the $100,000 duel he had with Dream. I'm interested if there's going to be anything like that in 2021 coming around, but I wanted to know why he beat Dream. And Frostbyte Freeman's sort of documentary on things you've been recommending forever, and today I finally get a chance to check it out. But first, I wanted you to know that right now I am live on my Twitch, twitch.tv/YoBGS as you're seeing this, and we're going to be doing some live video reactions today. I'm going to be reacting to Wilbur Soot talking about eating sand for 15 minutes, Nikki Googling herself, and maybe even a bonus video that you recommend. We'll see, but you got to stop by my Twitch, twitch.tv/YoBGS. Now, let's get into it. All right, really quick before we get started, I wanted to remind you, please check and see if you are subscribed. We've had a lot of amazing momentum going lately, and I can't keep it going without your help, so I appreciate it so much. And make sure to tell a friend, because I think we're doing some stuff that's a little bit different from some reaction channels out there. Now, I don't know a lot about Frostbyte Freeman, other than they apparently broke this duel down incredibly. So let's get into it. Why Techno beat Dream?
Made this video, and in this video, I reached the conclusion that Dream was more likely to win the $100,000 Mr. Beast duel. Not because he was significantly better than Technoblade at PvP in any particular version of Minecraft, but because he would do better under pressure. Ultimately, in my mind, the battle would be won by whoever held the mental high ground for the longest.
That makes sense, but what you don't take into account is, and by the way, this is the original footage. This is not me that's why it's like this, but that's what you have to take into account when you think about that, is somebody getting out to an early lead. And getting out to an early lead can kind of give you the game in a lot of instances if your opponent just can't see a way back into it.
To me, Dream was better suited for that task. He was, as far as I saw it then, more prepared to endure the pressure because, well, being good under pressure is part of his brand. Dream is known for insanely clutch plays in Minecraft manhunts and tournaments alike, so it was this factor that led me to believe that he'd be the one to come out on top. But what I failed to consider was that the high ground didn't matter, because, well, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And you know who didn't fail to consider that? Technoblade.
Techno is a master of the Pythagorean. Well, see, but Technoblade's an English major, right? So he knows about the letters. Even if the letters are used in math, he's got the upper hand.
Technoblade didn't fail to consider the importance that the mental aspect of his physical duel with Dream would play. As a matter of fact, he was all too aware of how Dream intended to truly win, by taking key rounds early on to mentally fatigue Techno until his resolve to fight withered away and left for the never-ending void. Dream and I were thinking roughly along the same lines here. Dream's strategy of testing Techno's confidence, putting him under pressure, and trying to stress him out by winning key matches in Techno's home version of the game was what might have been enough to win the day and help decrease Techno's enthusiasm for the fight. Thus,
it's very interesting when somebody, like, you're dealing with everybody thinking that they can wear you out mentally, because for somebody like Technoblade who struggles with putting too much pressure on himself, that it's weird, because that's a strategy that not only works, but if you assume that that's the strategy that they're going to employ, then you're putting the pressure on yourself in addition to them putting the pressure on you, and the plan has almost already worked before it's even gotten off the ground.
Increasing his willingness to fight. Except Techno never had any enthusiasm for this fight. Or any, really. He is the perfect image of a reluctant soldier and a regretful conqueror. Technoblade was extremely resistant to the idea of the $100,000 duel at first, and the end of my last video offered some additional reasons as to why he might be. However, my assumption that Dream could get inside of Techno's head and stress him out was flat out wrong, to say the least.
Now, Dream actually wanted the first duel to be in 1.8, although it was decided by coin flip, but I'm thinking his reasoning was that he's done a lot of training in this mode, so he's probably thinking, like, if he can beat me in the first round in my own game mode, I'll become super stressed and then play worse and lose by a lot.
Dream couldn't get inside of Techno's head to stress him out because Techno was already in there, inside of his own head, stressing himself out, because...
Unfortunately for him, that's my secret captain. I'm always stressed.
So in this video...
Oh my goodness. And you know what? Like, I feel like this is a different side of Technoblade. It's a hugely different side of Techno, because we always think of him as this, like, you know, blood for the blood god and conquering and all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, like, he's a stressful dude thinking about the things that stressed out dudes think about. And it's interesting to see him be so open about it. Like, again, I know he kind of withdraws a little bit from social situations and things like that, but I feel like he could really be an advocate in some respects for mental health, because he deals with it so outwardly and so openly.
We're going to be exploring why Technoblade won the duel, not how he won the duel, because both Techno and Dream have already analyzed their rounds of combat and the physical competitive strategies that they both used.
I do love
Dream
the
and
arena.
Techno have already shown us how Techno won. What I want to know is why. I want to know why Techno was the fighter better suited for victory, from a perspective that transcends beyond just mere PvP skill and extends to the invisible, four-dimensional chess game that Dream and Techno were playing before, during, and even after the fight.
That is a fair point. This really was billed and built kind of like a heavyweight boxing match. So the psychological game was almost as important as the moving the keyboard and clicking the mouse, although obviously that was the most important on the day. All right, that is the rumor.
Once upon a time, Dream asked Techno if they could do a collaboration.
You saw the video. I was telling them that, like, I told you we had to postpone the collab.
But Techno didn't answer. He was too busy farming potatoes.
My first thought when you said that was like, oh, okay, he doesn't seem like he really wants to do a collab.
Embittered, but not really, Dream sought revenge, and soon he found the perfect way to do so. The Technoblade vs. Dream rivalry really only began when Dream joined Minecraft Championships, and that rivalry really only began in Minecraft Championships because Dream instigated it. When Dream and company arrived in MCC, he made it all about Technoblade.
I never thought of it that way. That essentially it was Dream who started the Minecraft Championship rivalry. I thought that was actually Technoblade being in the Minecraft Championships proved that he was like kind of the top dog of the Minecraft Championships, and Dream being the top dog of like the YouTube world. It seems like it's such a natural rivalry, but again, Dream doing all the things that he does saw the value in that, and that's where that came from, I guess.
Viewers' perception of them, but the irony of it doesn't make that fact any less true. Dream hyped up a legendary battle between himself and Technoblade, but Techno did not do that.
No, Techno's farming potatoes.
Dream woke up bright and early in the morning to tweet out pictures of bacon, and in response, Techno did not do that either, although I'm sure there was a green eggs and ham joke to be made somewhere on his part.
Yeah, but he really didn't
Dream
care.
practically genuflected, down on bent knee for Mr. Beast to finally help him realize this final battle in a 1v1 environment where the only competitors would be himself and the Blade. Techno dragged his heels in the mud. Or rather, his hooves. Because,
dude, can we talk about like the energy, the like baller energy that's associated with that, by the way? Like, Dream wants you to do something and you're just like, when I feel like it, maybe sometime, I don't know. You know, whenever I get around to it, maybe that's when I'll figure it out. That is like, you know, you've made it when you can tell Dream to kind of, I'll get to it when I get to it.
But anyways, I think you get where I'm going with this. Dream wanted this fight to happen. Techno didn't. Not really, because again, just like we discussed last time, there was so much more than money at stake. And this fact was what probably led a lot of people to assume that Techno wouldn't win the fight, because it seemed like Dream's provocations for a duel were being unreciprocated by Techno. So a lot of people went in assuming that the more confident and braggadocious Dream would come out on top, simply because his belief and conviction that victory was assured would make it so. If Techno didn't want the fight, he definitely didn't want the pressure associated with the fight, and so the assumption was that Techno would do worse under that pressure that he so desperately spurned.
But there's also that saying about how the rougher a product is around the edges, the more advertising it needs. Think about a lot of pro athletes, and you know, especially when it comes to boxing, the more ostentatious they are, the more their weaknesses tend to be exposed. Like, wasn't it in the very early years of Mike Tyson? I don't think he walked to the ring under like any music. Like, I think he just went out to the until like Mama Said Knock You Out became a thing, and then he started using that. But it was just one of those, you don't hear anything. It's just the guy who's coming to take you out is walking to the ring. Meanwhile, Dream is, you know, trying to, it's almost like, Dream, are you trying to convince us, or are you trying to convince yourself in those moments? And that's what sort of makes that interesting to me, is while Technoblade just showed up and played Minecraft. Dream had this whole promotion of the fight associated with it, and I think that's kind of why, Technoblade just went to work that
But
day,
if that
right?
was the
Technoblade
case,
just
then
went to work
why
and
would
took
Techno
care of
insist that
business.
the duel be fought in 1.16 only? If he really isn't that great under pressure, then why would Techno adamantly insist on disproportionately increasing the pressure that the duel placed on himself and himself alone?
Because then you have a
Essentially,
reason.
conducting their battle exclusively in 1.16 would make the duel harder for him, but not for Dream. 1.8 PvP seems to be well suited for Techno, and not just because of his history with it. Techno and Dream actually share a surprising number of similarities with the versions of the game that they main. 1.8 has a lot of long-distance fishing rod tactics, and it might start off seeming slower and more methodical, but up close it's a flurry of fast-paced tactical decisions and sword-swinging strategy, just like Techno, who seems
Again, like a
monotonous on the
boxing
surface.
match. Like, it's so funny, the similarities there, because you see, depending on the weight class, right, that's kind of what the difference is. It's like 1.8 and 1.16 are completely different weight classes, and two fighters have to have their fights in these separate weight classes.
But deep beneath is a light with passion and fury that isn't expressed in his vocal tone. 1.16, meanwhile, is much like Dream. It favors broad, boastful, and hard-hitting attacks with axe crits while ducking and weaving from out behind your shield, just like Dream's larger-than-life personality online juxtaposed with his guarded personal life, obscured behind a veil of anonymity.
Very interesting.
Yet,
I like that.
For this duel, Techno was willing to forsake the game mode so closely intertwined with himself, his history, and his personality, just to play Dream's game on Dream's terms. So, it isn't that Techno does worse under pressure, not at all. It's that he rarely ever shows the true weight of the pressure he's under. When he does, it's usually through a bit of deadpan humor played for laughs. But no one really understands the pain of the blood god, and no one appreciates how much of his own blood he's shed to get to where he is today. Take the Bed Wars win streak, for example. Technoblade won 1,400 games in a row, dominating every opponent in his path.
Yeah, that was wild, by the way. Like, we were talking about this on stream when I watched the 1,000 Bed Wars win streak, that Technoblade's pulse had to be like 1,000,000 going into that last game. I almost wish he would have been able to wear a heart rate monitor so we could have seen just how stressed out he really was.
And that's a hard thing to be. In fact, the way he ends the streak is very indicative of the stress it put him under. After a while, the conquest became senseless to him. All the effort he had expended to assemble his team and hone his own skills to perfection wasn't worth feeling as if he had to wait hours for his crew to come online to even play at all. It wasn't fun to enter every match feeling anxious about the outcome just so he could make an already outrageously large number go up by one singular point.
Every time.
But the pressure of the win streak went unnoticed by many. People just assumed that Techno would keep on winning, and ironically, by trying to end the streak in the manner in which he did, it seemed to cement the impression that if he hadn't relinquished his title, Techno's reign would have been eternal. Because Technoblade never dies. And the same thing happened to Minecraft Mondays. It was just assumed that getting teamed with Technoblade was an automatic win. More people than ever took up the cry of blood for the blood god, spanning across live streams and comment sections of all those who stood in the Pig King's way. The mention of Techno's name sent shivers down the spines of Minecraft's most hardened veterans and inexperienced rookies alike.
It is really funny how that worked out too. Like, because I have not seen the video about how Technoblade got into Minecraft Monday. Let me know down below if that's worth checking out, or if any of the old Minecraft Mondays are even worth like a look at this, because so much has happened, in the year or however long it's been since then. But he got himself into an environment where nobody knows who he is. He puts pressure on himself, but nobody else was putting pressure on him because they were all sort of doing their own thing. And then he just slowly starts, not even slowly, he made a huge impact and put himself right at the top of the pedestal right away.
4 tournaments and consistently dominating the individual leaderboards. Because Technoblade never dies. So when Dream did the unthinkable and beat Techno consistently in every game he could have during his first Minecraft championships, the message he sent was clear. You want to keep your crown? Come and get it.
Wow.
And so,
Street Fighter reference.
Really, Techno winning is the only ending that ever made sense for this duel. Because when Dream told him to train for another 1,000 years, he never expected that Techno would actually go and do it. But he probably should have. Because while Dream was plotting for revenge and speedrunning YouTube and churning out videos at an unheard of rate to keep pace with the algorithm's lofty expectations and assumptions, Technoblade was too busy farming potatoes. And that's why he won the duel. That's why Technoblade never dies.
Because of that focus. It's that whole thing you hear about, again, with like, but this is more like in karate movies. you know, the person who goes and they sit up on top of the mountain and they meditate, and sometimes they practice karate, but they also meditate too. That was helping him out. I like the grand presentation of the Tato here.
Nothing sums up
and
Technoblade
I don't know
better
if this
than
is
the great
copyrighted
Tato
or
War.
not, so I'm going to talk
Nothing.
over it.
And if you disagree, well, consider the following. Technoblade spent
little Bill Nye
12-hour
reference.
days farming, analyzing game mechanics, strategizing, planning, plotting, scheming, memorizing sleep schedules, managing a select rotation of goons, sabotaging, and manipulating his opponent. A random player Techno had never previously encountered, by the way, to become the #1 harvester of the literal most arbitrary farmable food item in all of Minecraft.
You are not wrong.
And he did this for 8 months.
What?
During that time...
Why did I not recognize that before? I did not know it was an 8... You know what? I'm not surprised.
Techno's channel
I'm not
was mostly
surprised at
quiet.
all.
His days were spent farming, and with a work ethic that terrified all that momentarily glimpsed his madness. For all the Hamilton animatics about Techno's friends Wilbur and Tommy, it's ironic that no one has considered how well Technoblade fits within the context of Hamilton himself. At the end of Act 1, after learning that Hamilton wrote 51 essays, more than double what his entire group was supposed to finish together in the span of 6 months to defend his fledgling nation's constitution, Hamilton's friend then rival Aaron Burr screams at him in what can only be described as fear.
And yet when I won the war, I had a lead of over 88 million potatoes.
There you go. But now, well, and of note is also the fact that he was passed, but I think the person who passed him got banned, the whole thing. I don't know if Squid's still farming.
8 hours of farming per day. I averaged 11. He is but a puppet, and I, the puppeteer, dance, potato boy, dance.
But see, so he was
Hamilton
tweeting
never answers
and
this
doing
question.
things
Techno
to.
doesn't either.
But see, he was trying to get in the head of Squid Kid, so he can kind of understand Dream trying to do the same
Neither
thing to
of them
him.
have Techno devoted himself to the potato war because he could, because he wanted to. And although John Wick, the popular character from the Fortnite franchise, is more frequently described as a man of sheer focus, dedication, and will, it's not such a stretch to describe Technoblade in much the same way. When he truly dedicates himself to something, he's going to outwork anyone and everyone else. So, while Dream was analyzing
It's a nice
YouTube's
attitude to
algorithm
have.
to
I mean,
maximize
may we all
subscriber
be
gains,
so lucky.
Technoblade was analyzing high-pixel Skyblocks algorithms to determine the maximum potato yield he could net to win yet another worthless war. And that's why he won the duel. Dream told Techno that he would need to train for another 1,000 years to defeat him. And unfortunately for Dream, he challenged the only man alive who could actually do it. Because if Technoblade did nothing but farm potatoes for 8 long months to squash beef with someone he didn't know, then he could easily
I was almost expecting the video to end there. Technoblade outworked Dream. Finn. But Technoblade also had, I think, would you argue that Technoblade had better training partners, better training hours, or anything like that? And I would argue he had more base experience going in than Dream
both of
would.
them put in long hours, both of them trained furiously, but only one of them was insane enough to go the distance, to unintentionally strip the bark off of logs as an intimidation tactic, and master the ancient jutsu of cursed crafting tables, just to come out on top. And that person was Technoblade.
I like it. I'm
Hey,
about it. Although the cursed
you see
crafting
this
table
video?
allegedly had a purpose.
Yeah, I made this video, and I made it for Technoblade. When the first of the Minecraft
Oh, see, the old reverse psychology. I picked Dream as a way to reverse psychology.
Mondays premiered, I was watching Call Me Carson's stream at the time, but I was immediately enraptured
Oof, said nobody in 2021.
by the murmurings of a bloodthirsty, unstoppable pig lurking in the shadows of the tournament. When Technoplane swooped down from above to deal swift justice with the power of pay-to-win during MCU, I was right there with him. When the Pink Parrots rebounded and rallied to take Minecraft Championships number 8, I was on the edge of my seat, both of my brothers perched on either side of my chair, watching over my shoulders. When they won, we all jumped out of our seats and literally started shouting, and when Techno won the duel, we did the exact same thing. And in the frustrating aftermath of MCC number 7, when Techno mentioned in passing that his mom had texted him to tell him that she was still proud of him, despite his loss,
Ugh.
I was watching. Because that moment was the moment where I learned why Technoblade never dies. Technoblade has embarked down an extremely unconventional career path.
And by the way, first of all, there's a couple things I wanted to touch on. The cursed crafting table was allegedly to measure his latency, and that was why supposedly he did it, was to see his lag. And then I guess I guess that Frostbyte and I have kind of gone down a similar path because I felt a lot the same way. I don't know. Like, I kept thinking Dream was going to win and saying it in the video, like wholeheartedly expecting Technoblade to win. So the reason I'm ribbing Frostbyte for his video is because I was the same way when I watched the duel myself.
And he's taking a very unconventional and anti-algorithmic approach to it. On some level, albeit a more limited one, I understand what it's like to get those kinds of texts from family. They're trying to understand, but they can't.
Same.
Not really. And because of that, even when they tell you they're proud of your accomplishments, it's hard to believe them. Because if they don't understand what you've done or the significance of it, how can they appreciate it or express their pride?
Not to mention, this sounds weird, but Technoblade doesn't exactly have a community that is known for being proud of him. You know what I mean? Like, because if Technoblade does anything but come in first, his community acts disappointed in him. And I guess it all comes from a place of love because, you know, you can't stream to 850,000 people if they don't care about you and what you do. But still, it's that whole, the things that we don't see end up meaning so much more than the things that we do.
So you're just left feeling constantly unfulfilled because you can never be satisfied. It's not enough to be satisfied. Technoblade is always stressed because he's always carrying the expectations of his friends, his family, and his fan base with him at all times. And in some way, he's probably going to be letting down any one of those groups at any given point in time. He can't make everyone happy.
It's got to be tough.
So I made that initial Techno and Dream duel video because I was worried that Techno would be the one to feel the pressure of the duel the most and the most acute. After all, Techno's audience, myself included, seemed to take his ability to just flat out win for granted the most.
Exactly.
Dead War's win streak, his domination of Minecraft Mondays, and his status as a two-time MCC victor put an entirely unique set of expectations on him entering into this fight with Dream. And unlike Dream, Techno doesn't have a constant stream of content output to fall back on. So I was worried that losing would hit him harder and that even agreeing to the duel in the first place was harder for him than it was for Dream.
It seems like agreeing to the duel has been incredible for him.
I saw it.
And just the way things have panned out.
He'd still be considered one of the best players the game had to offer, and I was right about that at the very least. But if Techno had lost, he stood to lose more. His uploads are infrequent, but when they do come, people expect him to win, to excel, to succeed, because that's what Technoblade has always done in the past. That expectation, all of those expectations really, only serve to make winning harder for Technoblade, and that's why I made this video. I wanted people to notice that and ease off of Techno because I wanted everyone to see through his satiric deadpan and realize that despite his defeats and failures and dry spells of content, he really is trying his hardest to be what everyone wants him to be, and that Technoblade is only human, just an ordinary man struggling under the weight of being called a god.
It does make you wonder, doesn't it? It makes you wonder how many videos Technoblade has thrown away because he didn't think they were good enough. How many times Technoblade's recorded footage that's gotten booted because he didn't think it was good enough. I worry that number would be more than a lot of us would care to deal with. And that's unfortunate because I think I'm in the camp where, like, I find him funny. I find him entertaining. I love his writing style. I love the way he delivers the things that he writes. So I think that he, even if the video wasn't him winning, would be incredible. And I guess we'll never, the only person who knows is him.
I've realized now that rank number 1 isn't an achievement. It's a prison, which
Exactly.
forces you to dedicate your life to defending a temporary title.
But Techno isn't human. He's no ordinary man. He's a pig, and a bona fide blood god at that. And he is those things because he chooses to be them. Technoblade never dies because he straight up refuses to. He can't afford to, not when everyone is counting on him. He doesn't have to carry everyone's expectations, but he does anyways. He chooses to. He has made the expectation-laden moniker of Blood God his own. I don't think he will let himself accepted the pressure that comes with that title
not carry
unconditionally. That. It might be stressful for him to bear those expectations, but bear them he does, albeit reluctantly sometimes, but always with an ironic sense of pride, as he's only amassed these lofty expectations because of his past track record of success. It might hurt sometimes, but he can take it. He's strong enough to, and over the years he's only gotten stronger, growing acclimated to the weight of the world, of his world, which he's placed squarely on his own shoulders, of his own volition.
Is he acclimated to the weight of the world? And I guess, you know, it's like in Dragon Ball Z, where somebody trains with like 1,000-pound armor and 100 times gravity or something like that. Technoblade trains in an environment where he, on his he mentally puts more of a strain on himself than the rest of the world can. So when he takes that off, he's like superhuman.
Technoblade never dies because he's the one who puts in the work, logging insane hours of Minecraft and putting forth insane amounts of effort.
No joke.
Because he trains and grinds and struggles to achieve victory. And if he ever falls short, then you can be sure that he'll come back stronger than ever to remind everyone exactly who he is and exactly what he's capable of when he sets his mind to the task at hand. Or to task at hoof.
I was just about to say that. I was wondering if that's where he was going.
He might have to take his time or
I love
take some
that.
time off entirely. He might have to spend his entire day right-clicking virtual vegetables or rise through the ranks of a version-specific PvP server or train for 1,000 years or win 1,000 games, and he might get knocked down, but he'll always get back up. Always. Because Technoblade never dies. And that's why in my last video I said that even though I thought Dream might win, I'd still be rooting for Techno. Because ultimately, what I respect the most is Techno's resolve, his sheer willpower that's helped him overcome so many obstacles in his life.
It is interesting. It's fascinating that, right, Technoblade comes from this place of, getting knocked down, getting back up, getting after it, staying after it, and then Dream, meanwhile, is this, like, juggernaut who comes in and just, like, dominates, and then you have these two opposing, it's not David and Goliath-esque, but it really was these two completely different stories meeting to see like which one was going to come out ahead on that day. Obviously, again, they've both come out infinitely for the better at this point, but still.
Pushed him to step up and accept the monumental pressure of just being Technoblade, and given him the strength to keep on fighting. And that's why Techno won. And that's why I was wrong. Because Technoblade never dies. And now, I know why.
He was just ready for it.
What is up, guys? I'm Frostbyte Freeman, and I wanted to thank you for watching yet another video essay about the duel.
You're welcome. But by the way, because that is something, right? They say luck is where opportunity meets preparation and all of that good stuff. So if luck is where opportunity meets preparation, Technoblade was more prepared to get lucky on that day because he thought of the eventualities and found the different opportunities that he'd be able to capitalize on, even if they're just a little crack. He found the ways to get through there, and I think that is what was so instrumental to him getting through and coming out on top.
It's the last one, I swear, but this video wasn't supposed to exist. Don't get me wrong, I'm so glad that it does, but the original duel prediction video essay was supposed to be followed by an analysis
you should be very
of his
happy
YouTube
it exists.
strategy, with his victory in the duel mentioned briefly at the start. I guess that's what I get for not truly believing in Technoblade, because, the Pig King really threw a monkey wrench in my plans, but if it wasn't already clear, I see a lot of myself in him. That sounds really arrogant and entitled, but I know that if I was in his shoes, I definitely would have choked that fight. I'm glad that Techno didn't choke, though. He deserved the dub. Because,
and that's the
you
thing.
already know the bit for this video. Technoblade never dies, blood for the blood god, glory to the blade, yada yada, and etc.
I think that Technoblade realizes that about a lot of people, right? That a lot of people see that in him, that if they just, if they stick to what they do and they work hard at what they do, that eventually, like, good things can happen to them. And that's part of how some of that pressure starts to snowball on him, because he knows he's carrying the mantle of every man or every pig. And I think that may be a big part of things.
That Dream video is still coming up, so if that interests you, then hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to stay up to date with all my newest video essays and other content. This Dream video is going to be seriously huge for me, and I don't want to spoil too much, but I did read an entire book for it, so, as they say on TikTok, don't let this flop, whatever. Oh.
All right, on that note, friends, Frostbyte Freeman, awesome job. Technoblade Never Dies. Why Techno Beat Dream? That was phenomenal, friends. You may have heard me mention in that I did a reaction to the 1,000 Bed Wars win streak on my Twitch, twitch.tv/YoBGS. That's why you need to come to the stream. I am live right now, friends. I look forward to seeing you. We got a few videos to react to today, and they are going to be incredible. So take care, my friends, and I will see you for the Salty Runback.